Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing today? I am so excited for this video because I'm going to be doing a review on the new Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Matte Bronzer in the shade Fair. I'm going to show you what it looks like really quickly. It is a very pale shade. I was so intrigued to try this just because I do have very fair skin and I thought that this could possibly be the lightest bronzer I've ever seen. I know I actually saw some criticism of people saying, well, who would actually use that? That's so light, like that's going to be a bronzer on no one. And I'm just like over here like, me, I will use it. So I obviously decided that I needed to try it out. In today's video, I'm going to quickly give you my thoughts on the bronzer, how I'm feeling about it, if I think it's worth the money, and then I'm also going to be doing a bunch of comparison swatches for you. If you do have fair skin, hopefully this is helpful because I pulled out all of the lightest bronzers in my collection and also the most hype ones. Let's just go ahead and jump right on in. As I said, this retails for $55. Did I say that already? I think I did, but I filmed this intro so many times because it's just one of those days. So it retails for $55, but it has 16 grams of product, which is so much, it's ridiculous. I think it's the biggest bronzer that I own. I was casually going through a bunch of the other bronzers that I have here, and for example, like the Fenty one is 6.23 grams. The Kosas is 6 grams. Even though these bronzers initially cost less, they also have significantly less product as well. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you have 8 million bronzers, it probably doesn't matter. But if you're looking to buy just one, then that could definitely be an argument in favor of the Charlotte Tilbury bronzer. So it's not super heavy, but it's also not super light. It's like they made it the exact amount for it to not feel cheap and still have like a little bit of a luxury feel to it. I don't know, there's just something about having a little bit of weight to it, but it's also so light and the mirror is so big that if you wanted to use this, you could literally do your full face. Like, this is the best compact mirror. It is gigantic and it's so comfortable to hold because it's not super heavy. So I do really like that as well, and I could see this being great for travel, even though nobody's traveling right now. So getting down to the actual product, I really love this bronzer. Again, I think it's the lightest one that I own. I haven't swatched it in comparison with everything, so I'll be kind of curious to see how they all look next to one another. But just from how it applies on the skin, I feel like it blends beautifully, but it's also just so light and it's so natural on me, because so many times with bronzers, I feel like I really have to be careful with them. I have to go in with a light hand. I have to really blend it out, use a big fluffy brush, and I just do all these things to make bronzers work for me, where I feel like this is just the perfect light shade. It also is a really great undertone. It does not pull super warm. I'm wearing it today. I think my cheeks look a little bit more warm because I've got Luminoso from Milani on, but overall you can see my bronze. It's not super warm. It's not pulling orangey, but it's also not super cool either. It's not like it's trying to add a shadow or to like contour or anything. It's just a truly neutral shade, so I really like it. It feels very smooth. So there's what it looks like. You can see it's just a little tiny bit deeper than my skin, which I really like that look. Like, look at that. It almost looks like nothing when I'm swatching it, but on my face it just adds the most natural bronze, so I really like it. I do not regret spending the money on it, and it's something I see myself using a lot. I think the reason I don't regret this at all is because this shade is very unique for me, and if you're looking at the line and you're looking at the light or the medium or the deep shade and you're thinking, I've seen that a million times, I already have that shade, it's not unique, like I already have a nice warm bronzer, then maybe this won't be worth the price for you. But if you do have very fair skin, I really like the way that this looks on me. I also think it's really interesting. I saw someone mention that the deepest bronzer in this line, the shade Deep number 4, is a little bit darker than the deepest shade Mocha Mommy in the Fenty Beauty line, which I actually went and watched a swatch video, and I can recommend y'all a YouTuber. Her name is Jules, MUA, and she did a review on the deep shade and did a bunch of swatches as well in case you're curious. And it looked like Mocha Mommy was a lot more red tone, so it's kind of hard to compare. But it was obvious that the Charlotte Tilbury shade was really nice and deep. I just thought this bronzer line was almost an anomaly because so many bronzers, it's like light, medium, tan. And for this to have 4 shades and have literally the fairest bronzer I've ever seen, and then also a really nice, deep, rich shade as well, I thought that was pretty cool. For Charlotte Tilbury to really go much lighter and much deeper than a lot of brands do, I commend them for that. I don't think it was a perfect range, but it was even. It was even across the board. So let's just go ahead and do some swatches. I'm going to do another swatch of this on my arm just so we can see them all together. I'm going to build it up a little bit. See, there is shade Fair. Then next, let's do Fenty Beauty Into Sun, which is the lightest shade in their powder bronzer range. You can see I've got a really good dip going in that because it's in my project pan. I actually think the Charlotte Tilbury one is a little bit easier to blend than this one. Yeah, that's a little bit darker. All right, next I'm going to do the Balm Take Home the Bronze, and I believe the shade of this is Oliver, which there's what that looks like. I feel like this one's a little bit deeper and it has more of a cool tone to it. Yeah. Then next I have the Kevyn Aucoin Sculpting Powder in the shade Light. Again, this is a little bit more of a contour. It's very pigmented though. So it's a lot more cool toned. All right, next we have Davina Sand Bar. So that one's a lot more pinky. I never noticed that just using it on its own. That's interesting seeing it swatched out. Next I have the Kosas bronzer in the shade Light, which I think this looks really beautiful on the skin, but I think it's definitely going to be the most orangey bronzer of the bunch that I have mentioned here. Yeah, you can see it has that really pretty glow though. And then we have the Milani Silky Matte Powder in the shade Sunlight. Looks like this. That one's a little bit deeper, a little warmer. And then last but not least, I wanted to include my Alamar Cosmetics. This is the Brighten and Bronze Collection Trio in the shade Fair Light, which looks like this. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch Pale Wear, which I love the name of this. It makes me laugh. It's definitely a warmer shade than what I expected it to be originally. Oh, that might actually be the warmest of the bunch. Never mind. Sorry, Kosas. So there are a bunch of bronzers swatched out for you. And I mean, as you can see, it is confirmed the Charlotte Tilbury is definitely the lightest. I feel like the Kosas one is coming off a little bit lighter on the skin, but I think that's because it's hitting the light and it's the only one that has shimmer in it. The rest of these bronzers are pretty true matte shades. So I forgot to mention this before, but I've had no issues with it wearing off throughout the day, but I also don't really have that issue because I have pretty dry skin and powders seem to stick to my skin pretty well. So I would love to know if you have tried this bronzer, if you have thoughts on it, if you're tempted to pick it up, let me know where you're at down below. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to subscribe before you go, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.